Are you tired of your stop motions looking like this and left wondering, how do I improve them? If so, I'm going to teach you how to level up your videos so they can look awesome. This video is dedicated to beginners, whether it's someone wondering how to start out or someone who's a year or two into the game. But regardless, that doesn't mean you still can't learn something from this. Also, this will be a multi-part video. In this first video, we're going to go over 3 elements, those being equipment/accessories, diorama/sets, and lastly, animation tips. With all that being said, let's start with equipment. Well, the first piece of equipment that you'll need is obviously a camera. Now here's the thing guys, believe it or not, you don't need a fancy camera. Crazy, am I right? You can make great videos just by using your smartphone. Use me as an example. I've been doing it for years now. Me personally, I've been using iPhones, starting with the iPhone 5 and making my way up to my current phone, which is an iPhone 13 Pro Max. Now look, I understand everyone's financial situations are very different, so I'm not going to tell you that you have to use iPhones. Androids also have the same apps that I use to make my videos, so you'll still be able to do the same things that I do. Since we're on the topic of phones, the next step is applications. For stop motions, I use the Stop Motion Studio app. There are 2 versions to this app, the free and paid version. Me personally, I use the paid version and it costs $5.99, which in my opinion is worth it. You get a lot of features and tools that I believe makes things easier and more fun to use. But if you can't or don't want to pay for it, that's okay because the free version is still good too. Now that we established our stop motion application, it's time to start preparing. The first thing I believe is important is having a steady surface to film on, such as a table. Now I totally understand that maybe you don't have a table or a desk. I've been there before. I used to film on my old freezer and I actually started this channel by filming on the floor. Here's an old video from 7 years ago proving that. So far I got like 30-40 minutes done. It's been like 4 days I think I've been doing this. So maybe I'll be done by like Friday, I don't know. The reason why I'm telling you guys these things is because I don't want you to feel because you don't have certain things you shouldn't attempt it. Now the reason why I'm recommending a table is because I don't want you to be breaking your back filming on the floor. Plus a table is more smooth and sturdy to film on. Okay, so now we have our platform to film on. It's time for 2 other very important accessories that are much needed for stop motion. Those 2 being a tripod and lighting. Let's start with a tripod first. A tripod is extremely important because ultimately you want your videos to be steady and stable and not shaky and all over the place. Plus, with a tripod, you can get different angles without risking it being shaky and hard for the audience to see what's going on. Now, I will admit, some tripods can be a bit expensive. You can always find cheap ones on Amazon or even Five Below. But speaking from personal experience, they end up breaking pretty fast. So that's why I'm recommending getting a Joby tripod. Now, I will admit, they may look expensive on the surface, but they're great quality and I've been using them for 4 years now. The tripod I will recommend for you to use for a good price is the Joby HandyPod Clip. It's only $20 and currently at the time of the recording of this video, it's $16.99 at Target. In my opinion, this is a great, small, affordable tripod to start out with. Considering that I use it, I think you should use it too. Now for lighting, there's a few key points I want to talk about. I do not recommend using natural outside light for your videos. Reason being is because it's never going to stay consistent and you're under a time restraint. Another thing is, I wouldn't recommend only relying on your ceiling light. Chances are it's not going to provide enough light for your videos. Which leads me into the next point of buying some lamps. So since we're under a budget, I'm not going to tell you guys to go buy some lights that cost hundreds of dollars. I actually made some of my biggest videos only using regular $10 lamps. Now for a starter, I'm going to say get 2 of these desk lamps from Target. They're $8 each and will help you illuminate your videos better, thus making it more visible for the audience. Now the last 2 pieces of equipment that I recommend is a Bluetooth clicker and sticky tack. I will explain why I recommend these things. Well, for one, a Bluetooth clicker goes right with a tripod. What I mean by that is, when you press your phone to take a photo, there's a chance you might press too hard and shake the whole phone and tripod. With a clicker, you will not have to worry about that at all. However, if you don't want to buy one, there's an alternative to it. If you have a pair of wired headphones, I found that they also do the exact same thing when they're plugged in, so I recommend trying that out. So for sticky tack, I highly recommend using UHU Patafix Pro Power. I've talked about and recommended this product so many times and there's a reason why. It's because it works and it's the best. For one, it's really strong and will hold up your figures so they don't fall while filming. The second reason is, it's not going to leave residue on your surface or figures, just like sticky tack would. Lastly, it doesn't dry out. I've had it out and exposed for months and I never had it dry out before. This product is the real deal and you got to use it because it really will help you out greatly. Now that we went over the equipment that you'll need, it's time to get into our next subject, that being dioramas and sets. So now we're talking about dioramas for your stop motion sets. Now I feel the importance of this is self-explanatory. You want your animations to have a background that matches the theme of what it's about. Now for me, there's a couple ways to go about this. You can buy some dioramas, which is the expensive route. You can find some on eBay with various prices, or you can buy some extreme set dioramas, which is essentially cardboard with printed backgrounds that fold together to create a massive set. Now me personally, I have bought and used both these options. However, I realize that they are rather expensive. Extreme sets are typically close to $100 per set, and buying dioramas could be expensive too based on the quality and the creator themselves. So that's one way to go about sets. Now the other is obviously making it yourself. Now I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a professional in making dioramas. I have made a few with friends and family, but I would look up YouTube tutorials on diorama making because essentially that's what I did to get a feel on how to go about things. I realized that making it yourself is honestly the cheapest option and it's pretty fun. Now you can go about making dioramas in different ways. Some people use styrofoam, pink installation foam, hell, some even use cardboard and various things to make some pretty cool sets. I have done all these things. I have a few videos and live streams on me making some. I know this all sounds overwhelming. However, you can still make some sets out of stuff you have around the house. I'll show you what I mean. So I want to make a new backdrop, right? On the sides I have two pieces I already made, one made of cardboard and the other one made of pink installation foam. So for the empty space, I'm going to be using cardboard to make a graffiti background. Yes, you heard that right, cardboard. Now of course we're going to paint it. You can use spray paint, markers, brushes, and regular acrylic paint. These are all materials I got from Walmart and didn't cost me a lot of money. You can honestly get them from the dollar store if you really want. Now what I'm doing is painting the cardboard purple, and then after it dries, I'm going to use a pencil to draw some designs on it. Then use my paint markers to draw in the designs. I honestly just freestyle it, but you can do whatever you want. But it looks too clean for my grunge style, so I'm going to go over it with some black paint and dirty the whole thing up, kind of like dry brushing. Now I think this looks cool and matches what I'm going for. But ultimately with dioramas, you need to find the style that you want and then figure out how you're going to go about it. There's the comic grunge style that I did that I personally like, and then there's the realistic look as well. Again, this falls under a personal preference, but that being said, it's time for the next part, which is animation tips. The reason why I'm calling it animation tips is because the truth is, even though there's so many tutorials on how to start and what to do, ultimately you yourself have to develop your own style and flow with things. I hope that makes sense. So let's begin by opening up the Stop Motion Studio app. We'll be clicking on New Movie, then we'll click on the camera logo on the top right of the screen. Now that we are here, the first tip I'll tell you guys is to put on the camera grid. You do that by pressing the grid logo on the left. The reason why this is important because this helps you see the levels and dimensions of the screen. Now let's click the three lines on the right and click the camera logo right after. Now you want to select M, which stands for manual. This is the best setting to use for Stop Motion Studio. Now that we open it up, let's go over the tools that we have. Starting with AW, which is pretty much the temperature. With these options, we can manipulate the temperature of the pictures, essentially going from cold to hot or a nice middle ground. It's really useful to help set the mood of your scene. After that, we have the focus tool. This is self-explanatory, uses to focus the camera on the subject. Next, we have the ISO. ISO refers to the camera's sensitivity to light. A higher SAO number means the camera is more sensitive to light and can capture more light. I usually keep this around 0 to 100 max. Following that, we have the shutter speed. Shutter speed is the length of time a camera's shutter is open when taking a photo. Think of it like this. Shutter speed affects the amount of light that enters the camera. That's important because it determines the look of an image. After that, we have the zoom option. You already know what this is. It lets you zoom in and out of an image. And the last tool is going to be green screen / blue screen. But we're going to go over that in a sequel video. Now we're going to go over what to keep in mind. So one of the things I keep in mind before I start filming is I make sure to eliminate any outside light, such as outdoor light or even a ceiling light depending. This is so it doesn't clash with the light that we're using for the video. Another tip is I try to wear black clothing when filming. The reason being is to prevent light from reflecting back into your film, which may cause light flicker. If you wear brighter clothes, it's going to reflect off your clothes. I know that sounds crazy, but trust me, this is a real thing that happens. Speaking of light, I also recommend turning on your lights at least 5 minutes in advance of you filming. It's so that way it can be fully turned on and the light can be consistent. Think of it like letting your car warm up during the winter. Okay, so now that we went over the settings and what to keep in mind, it's time for misconceptions when it comes to stop motion animations. One massive misconception is you need expensive editing software to make awesome videos. This isn't totally true. Now obviously the big expensive software has more features and are more powerful than free options, but that doesn't mean that you can't create great videos. Essentially you gotta be creative with creating your vision. Easily the biggest misconception with stop motion is that you need to have high FPS. This is far from the truth. This is something I try to tell people all the time. Now look, I'm actually gonna recommend another video to explain this because they explain everything perfectly. Here's the video on screen. I will also include it in the description of this video. This video has helped me out greatly and I know it will help you out too. And that concludes this video. Like I said before, this is only part 1 of the series. If you feel left anything out or want to see something explained in part 2, please make sure to drop it in the comments. Thank you all for watching.